Imagine for a second that you're running a massive industrial training facility. Like you are the person in charge of an energy operator's entire training floor. Just put yourself in that space for a minute.
Oh man, that's a highly stressful job to imagine.
Right. Because we are talking about a gigantic cavernous warehouse, and you have 500 trainees out there on the floor at the exact same time.
Yeah, all moving around, touching things.
Exactly. And they're working across 50 different equipment skids. And, these aren't just desks with computer simulations. These are highly complex setups mimicking the real world. You've got high-pressure pipes, intricate chemical processes, heavy valves.
The sensitive gauges, the
It has all of it. The noise is deafening and the stakes are incredibly high. So the multi-million dollar question for you is, how do you actually grade all 500 of these people simultaneously?
right.
And even more importantly, how do you keep them physically safe while they're, learning to handle dangerous materials?
Well, historically speaking, it's a logistical nightmare. Because if you look at the old answer to that question, the traditional method, it's almost shockingly inadequate for the scale of today's energy operations.
Totally.
I mean, the old answer has always just been one human instructor armed with a paper checklist, trying to look over a trainee's shoulder without, getting in the way of a heavy wrench.
A clipboard and a pen against an industrial chemical setup. It sounds wild when you say it out loud.
It really does.
But today, we are looking at the new answer. And the new answer is an AI that never blinks. You've got a fascinating stack of sources today, mostly centered around an incredibly detailed press release and product launch announcement from EON AI Ventures.
Yeah, for a system called Assess IQ 2.0.
Exactly. And the launch date is literally right around now, May 2026. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
The mission for today's deep dive is to explore how Assess IQ 2.0 is completely flipping the script on industrial training. We're moving away from that human bottleneck and stepping into this whole new era of whole facility AI observation.
And that's really the crucial framing for this whole discussion. We have to look past the surface level benefit of simply grading people faster.
Right, which is what enterprise software usually promises, right?
Yeah.
Just doing things faster.
Exactly. But what we're really talking about here is a fundamental shift in how highly regulated industries, so oil, gas, chemical, nuclear, how they actually define and enforce a safe working environment.
Wow, okay.
It is a complete paradigm shift from retroactive paperwork-based grading to proactive omnipresent observation.
To really grasp the gravity of this solution, I feel like we first have to look at why that old method broke down so spectacularly. You mentioned the one human with a paper
Yeah,
checkbook.
the poor instructor on the floor.
Think about the friction of that traditional model in a modern context. You have one human trying to evaluate one trainee on a complex, like 50-step procedure,
Right, and they're writing it down on paper.
writing it on paper, and then somebody has to transfer that to a spreadsheet later. If you have 500 trainees, that model just completely collapses under its own weight.
It absolutely does.
The source material paints this grim picture of what that actually culminates in. It's basically an exhausting grading session at 8 p.m. on a Friday night with instructors just buried under mountains of paperwork.
Yeah, trying to remember if trainee number 412 turned the release valve clockwise or counterclockwise 6 hours ago.
Exactly. It's impossible.
Well, that traditional model was built for an artisanal approach to training,
Right.
like an apprenticeship model. But today's energy operators, they're running multi-cohort 50-skid training centers.
Right.
The human capacity to observe, record, and evaluate simply cannot scale to meet that demand without sacrificing either speed or accuracy. And in practice, it usually sacrifices both.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Assess IQ 2.0 claims to fix this by acting as a whole facility AI observation platform. It's pitched as watching every single trainee on every single skid across every single shift simultaneously.
And scoring them in real time.
It's like replacing a single exhausted sports referee who's running around a massive field trying to catch every foul.
Right, with an omniscient video assistant referee tracking every micro movement of all 500 players at once.
Exactly. But, okay, I have to push back here for a second. I am having a really hard time picturing how this actually functions on a busy warehouse floor. You're saying it watches 500 people simultaneously, but in a real industrial setting, people are wearing identical personal protective equipment.
True.
They're crawling under pipes, they're blocking the cameras with their own bodies. How is the AI not just completely losing track of who is who and what their hands are actually doing behind a giant steel beam?
Well, that is exactly the right question to ask. What you're describing is known in computer vision as the occlusion problem.
The occlusion problem.
Yeah. If EON AI Ventures just strapped some standard security cameras to the walls, the system would fail instantly for the exact reasons you just mentioned.
Right, because bodies block the view.
Precisely. So the technical architecture they've built relies on a fused dual camera setup for every single skid. First, you have a ceiling-mounted camera. That gives the AI a macro view, tracking the overall spatial relationship of the trainee to the equipment.
Okay, a bird's eye view.
But crucially, you also have a shoulder-worn camera physically on the trainee.
Oh, okay, so it's capturing a first-person view as well.
Exactly.
But wait, how does that solve the occlusion problem if the AI is just looking at two flat video feeds?
Because it doesn't just look at them separately, it fuses them. Think of it like human binocular vision. If you close one eye, you lose your depth perception, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't definitively tell if an object is 2 feet away or 10 feet away.
Right. So the ceiling camera acts as one eye, providing the layout and identifying the specific trainee. The shoulder camera acts as the other eye, providing the granular detail of the hands and the tools.
Oh,
The AI's visual cortex fuses those two feeds in real time to mathematically map the exact three-dimensional coordinates of the trainee's hands in space. So even if their body blocks the ceiling
the
camera...
shoulder camera maintains the 3D map.
Exactly. It never loses track of the hands.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It's plotting their physical coordinates, not just watching a video like a security guard.
Yeah.
But just tracking where their hands are isn't enough, right? The AI actually has to evaluate the action.
Right. It has to know if they did it right.
Yeah. And the press release heavily emphasizes something called a 5-pass AI consensus on every step. What is the actual mechanism there? Is it just like double-checking its own work?
It is much more rigorous than a simple double check. Think of it like getting 5 independent specialists to examine a piece of evidence.
Okay.
When a trainee performs an action, the AI doesn't rely on one single algorithm. It fires up 5 independent neural networks.
5, all at once.
All at once. One network is evaluating spatial geometry. Like, is the wrench correctly seated on the valve? A second network is evaluating the temporal sequence. Did this action happen in the correct order of operations? A third is checking velocity. Did they turn the high-pressure valve too quickly, which, risks a blowout?
Right, so it's looking at speed, order, position.
Exactly. And it requires all 5 of these independent networks to reach a mathematical consensus before the system officially logs that single step as complete.
So it's constantly arguing with itself at lightning speed to ensure it isn't hallucinating a pass or a fail.
Yes.
Which is fascinating, but, I mean, it brings up a massive logistical question. If it's tracking all these parameters with perfect consensus, what happens when someone reaches for the wrong valve? And I don't mean a grading mistake. I mean, they reach for a live, high-pressure steam valve that is literally going to severely injure them.
What's fascinating here is how the source material addresses that exact scenario. It introduces a concept that is truly radical for heavy industrial operations. The AI is now the primary safety actor.
A primary safety actor. So this sounds like the automatic emergency braking system in modern cars?
Yes, that's a perfect analogy.
Because 10 years ago, you were the primary safety actor. If a car stopped in front of you, you had to see it, process it, and physically hit the brakes. If your human reaction time failed, you crashed.
Right.
Now, the car's radar detects the obstacle and physically intervenes for you. We're talking about applying that same concept to massive industrial heavy machinery.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The source highlights specific interventions. Like, if that trainee reaches for the hot pipe, Assess IQ 2.0 intervenes in the moment.
Instantly.
It can trigger an alert in their earpiece, flash a massive warning on their augmented reality overlay, or physically lock out the procedure on the skid's digital tablet.
Right, it stops them before they can make the mistake.
But wait, let me put my IT hat on for a second here.
Sure.
If this system is running 5 concurrent neural networks on a fused 3D video feed for 500 people, and it has to intervene instantly to stop a hand from grabbing a hot pipe, it cannot be sending all that video to a cloud server in Virginia, waiting for the AI to process it and sending a stop signal back.
No, definitely not.
The cloud latency alone means the trainee is already burned by the time the signal arrives, right?
You've hit on the invisible backbone of this entire operation. To achieve zero latency safety intervention, you absolutely cannot rely on the cloud. The processing has to happen on the edge.
Okay, so edge computing.
Meaning the heavy computational lifting is happening on localized, ruggedized servers sitting right there on the training floor, literally wired directly to those skids. The AI is making those split-second safety decisions locally. It acts as a first responder.
Wow. Which raises the next question. Where does the human instructor fit into this? If the edge AI is autonomously locking down equipment, are we just handing total control over to the machine?
Well, EON AI Ventures is very deliberate with their phrasing here. They explicitly state, the human is the override layer, never the bottleneck.
Never the bottleneck.
Okay,
Let's break down the mechanics of that safety inversion.
so the AI processing on the edge identifies the danger and takes immediate preventative action, right? Faster than humanly possible.
Right.
1 second later, the human supervisor on the floor receives an alert on their tablet showing exactly what the AI just did and why. The supervisor is then presented with a choice.
Be at the final say.
Exactly. They can approve the AI's intervention, they can override it if, the AI was being overly cautious in a safe training context, or they can escalate the situation.
So the human is completely removed from the split-second reaction time loop, but they retain ultimate executive authority.
Precisely. And this inversion of the traditional safety hierarchy is really the only way to make large-scale industrial training genuinely safe.
Yeah, I mean, if you rely on a human instructor to spot one trainee reaching for a dangerous valve out of a crowd of 500 people,
Eventually, someone is going to get hurt. It's just a statistical inevitability. When the AI becomes the first responder, the bottleneck of human visual attention is entirely removed.
okay, I am entirely sold on the mechanics of the observation and the edge computing safety intervention. That makes total sense. But there is a massive logical gap here that I'm seeing.
Okay, what is it?
If the AI is strictly judging them on a pass or fail basis and intervening when they make a mistake, who defines what a pass is?
Oh.
An AI doesn't inherently know how to assemble a high-pressure valve or run a chemical refinement process. Where is it getting its ground truth?
That brings us to the broader ecosystem. Assess IQ 2.0 doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It is just the final piece of what they call the EON training stack. It is all built on one unified data model.
Okay.
It starts with a foundational product called Genesis. Genesis is the authoring tool where the standard operating procedures are actually created. And crucially, it is where they capture the gold standard reference runs.
Gold standard reference runs. Wait, how does it capture that? Is a master technician like putting on a motion capture suit covered in ping pong balls like they're shooting a Hollywood movie?
It's actually much more seamless than that. It utilizes the exact same dual camera hardware we discussed earlier. So an absolute expert, a master technician, performs the procedure perfectly while wearing the shoulder camera under the ceiling camera.
Oh.
Yeah. Genesis uses that fused 3D visual cortex to capture their exact kinematic movements. It translates human mastery into a mathematical baseline of spatial coordinates and sequence timings.
So Genesis doesn't just write a text rule book.
Uh-huh.
It creates a mathematical 3D ghost of the perfect performance.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Then you have the delivery mechanism, a product called Field IQ.
Okay, Field IQ.
Field IQ takes that mathematical ghost and delivers it to the trainees exactly when they need it. According to the launch details, they're delivering this via Ray-Ban display glasses.
Oh.
Yeah, so the workers getting voice guidance, images, and spatial animations projected right into their field of view as they work on the skid.
And then Assess IQ 2.0 is the third pillar, sitting on top, comparing the trainees' movements to that Genesis baseline.
You got it.
It really is a closed loop. Genesis authors, Field IQ delivers, and Assess IQ observes. But what strikes me about all of this is the emphasis on the user experience. Enterprise software is notorious for friction. It's usually incredibly painful to deploy and use.
Oh, absolutely. It's usually a nightmare.
But the source explicitly promises zero friction. They break the entire platform down to exactly 36 steps across 5 guided journeys. System activation, training session setup, trainee use, live monitoring, and audit review.
Yeah, and that insistence on a streamlined UX is actually a core part of their safety proposition.
Really? How so?
Well, the source points out there are no menus to navigate, no complex dashboards for instructors to assemble. The product walks every user through one screen at a time. It's basically a guided wizard. You don't have to be a data scientist to figure out who passed and who failed. You just follow the single screen in front of you.
Right, because if an instructor is spending 10 minutes fighting with a drop-down menu, they aren't paying attention to the floor.
Exactly.
But, there's another massive implication to this tracking. We have the AI training, we have it intervening, and we have it grading. So what does this all mean when the federal or state regulators inevitably come knocking?
The compliance question, yes.
Because it is one thing to tell a trainee they did a good job on a simulation. It is an entirely different universe to prove to a government auditor that out of a cohort of 100 trainees, every single one of them perfectly executed a critical safety sequence.
Right.
If an AI is grading them, how do you prove to a human regulator that the AI isn't just, hallucinating a passing grade to make the company look good?
This is where the engineering of Assess IQ 2.0 really shows its teeth. It relies on a cryptographic audit trail. Remember that 5-pass AI consensus we talked about?
Yeah, the 5 different networks checking everything.
Right. Every single frame of the trainee's work, every localized edge computing decision the AI makes, is hashed, signed, and sealed digitally before that trainee even takes a step to the next station.
Wow.
By the end of the shift, there are no spreadsheets to collate. Every procedure has a signed, tamper-proof evidence pack sitting in a digital vault.
Okay, I need to stop you there and ask for a translation. Because the press release gets intensely technical here.
It does get a bit dense.
Yeah, it specifically states that these evidence packs are signed with ED 255-2 keys held by the customer and time-stamped by a third-party RFC 3161 authority. Can we break that jargon down into plain English? How does that actually stop a company from just forging a passing grade?
Absolutely. Let's break it down into the concept of a digital chain of custody.
Okay.
When they say it's signed with ED 2551 keys held by the customer, think of that key like an unforgeable digital signature or like a wax seal that belongs exclusively to the energy company running the training facility.
A digital wax seal. Got it.
The AI takes the video, the 3D coordinate data, and the 5-pass score, and it locks it all in a digital box using that unique wax seal. Because the customer holds the key, not EON AI Ventures.
Right, the customer has the key.
It means nobody, not even the software developer, can secretly open that box and alter the records later. If you break the seal to change a failing grade to a pass, the file is visibly mathematically corrupted.
Okay, so it's a locked digital box sealed by the facility itself.
Yeah.
What is the RFC 3161 authority part then?
That is the timestamping mechanism. Once the box is sealed, the system sends a digital fingerprint of that box to an independent, standardized third party, essentially a digital notary.
A notary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This notary officially stamps the exact millisecond that record was created. So you have a cryptographic guarantee of exactly what happened, a guarantee of exactly when it happened, and a guarantee that it hasn't been touched since.
That's incredible.
It forms a continuous chain of custody from the edge servers on the skid to the cloud to the secure vault.
The press release uses a phrase here that I think is incredibly powerful. It says, the math goes to court.
Yes. That is the entire philosophy of their compliance architecture. When a regulator shows up to audit the facility, they do not have to trust EON AI Ventures' word that the AI is accurate.
Right.
They certainly don't have to trust the energy company's word. The math is literally embedded in the file. The auditors can take those encrypted evidence packs, put them on their own independent government machines, and verify the cryptographic signatures themselves in seconds.
It completely removes human testimony from the equation of compliance. An instructor no longer has to swear an oath that they saw the trainee turn the valve correctly at 8 p.m. last Friday. The hashed, signed, and sealed sensor data proves it mathematically.
Exactly. It's bulletproof compliant, generated automatically without any human administrative burden. If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're witnessing is a profound transformation in how society handles high-stakes knowledge.
Yeah.
We have reached a point where human physical competence, the complex, nuanced actions of working with heavy machinery, high pressure, and dangerous chemicals can now be accurately mapped, guided, safely constrained, and legally certified purely by algorithms. We are entirely removing the human bottleneck from both physical safety and legal compliance.
Which brings us to the end of a pretty incredible journey. I mean, we started with a chaotic image of a massive facility, 500 trainees, 50 skids, and one overwhelmed human instructor frantically scribbling on paper checklists.
It's night and day.
It really is. We've seen how Assess IQ 2.0 solves that scale problem flawlessly. It uses fused binocular camera vision to map 3D space. It runs a 5-pass consensus on every movement, and it uses localized edge computing to act as an instant first responder before a hand even touches a hazard.
And it wraps all of this in a cryptographic chain of custody that regulators can verify independently.
Exactly. And if you are running one of these massive facilities, it's worth noting that EON AI Ventures is actively accepting pilot inquiries right now for facilities running cohorts of 100 trainees or more.
This really raises an important question about the future of work itself, though. When the verification of skill moves from human observation to mathematical certainty, it changes the entire definition of what an instructor is actually meant to be.
Which leaves us with a fascinating and maybe slightly unsettling thought to ponder. If an omniscient AI becomes the ultimate, mathematically flawless certifier of our physical skills and our safety, what happens to the concept of human intuition in teaching?
Right.
When the math goes to court, will we eventually reach a point where human instructors are phased out of the loop entirely, relying purely on algorithms to tell us who is truly competent and who isn't? What happens to the mentor?
That's the big question.
Something to think about the next time you set out to learn a new hands-on skill. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.